Hi class, this video is going to be on the multiplication of radicals. And the problem we're going to do is 11 square root m plus 4 square root n times the square root of m plus square root n. So we see here we have two expressions being multiplied together, which means we need to FOIL. So we're going to send the 11 root m to the root m and the root n, and then we're going to send the 4 root n to both of those as well. So we need to FOIL, and we're going to get, well, 11m times square root m is 11 square root m times the square root m. Next, we're looking at 11 root m times root n. That is going to be plus 11 square root m times the square root n. Now we do our middle terms. So 4 square root n times root m. So that's plus 4 square root n times square root m. And then my last two terms, 4 square root n times square root n, is going to be plus 4 square root n times square root n. Now I need to simplify this. And like we discussed in class, it's really exciting when we get the same square root multiplied by itself, because that means that it goes away, because the square root of m times the square root of m is just m. And that's because we'd have the square root of m squared. And if the power matches the index, which is an invisible 2, then you just are left with the radicand. So we'll go ahead and erase that. That is why we end up with 11m. So now we get plus 11 times the square root of m times n. Well, these don't have the same radicand, so we're going to use the rule that says the square root of a times the square root of b is equal to the square root of ab. So we get to multiply the radicands together into a single radicand. So the square root of m times the square root of n is actually the square root of mn. And I'll go ahead and erase this. We do the exact same thing for this term. This one becomes plus 4 times the square root of n times m. I'm sorry, I just realized over here I put two m's. This is supposed to be, I said n and m, but I wrote the wrong thing. 11 times the square root of m times n. And now I get plus, again we have square root n times square root of n, so combined that becomes just n. So I'm left with plus 4n. Now I see that square root of m times n is the exact same thing as the square root of n times m, because mn is the same thing as nm, because multiplication can be written in any order, i.e. it's commutative. So this is going to give us 11m plus, well, 11 plus 4 is equal to 15 square root of mn plus 4n. Now none of these terms are like. We already combined them all. So this is our final answer.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.